The unprecedented times we are living in today, ushered in by a global pandemic, have revolutionized the way business are being conducted and how. Everything from working to learning to doing is now enabled by technology and tools. But is this how digital transformation was meant to pan out? What about our readiness and the timelines we had laid down to roll it out at our pace? COVID 19 did what most business couldn't do themselves. It created a new order, a new normal with digital at its heart. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to an insightful webinar on digital transformation and learning, connecting the dots, that will give you expert insights, tips, and tricks on leveraging learning programs for building and sustaining digital transformation. Quick housekeeping before we get started. If you have any question during the presentation, please feel free to use the chat window. I'll bring them up at the end during the 15 minutes reserved for Q&A. This webcast is brought to you by Upside LMS in association with People Matters. Upside LMS is a leading learn tech provider of an AI-powered learning management system and a comprehensive off-the-shelf content library called Plethora. It is backed by over 16 years of experience, 50 plus awards and recognition, and over 1 million happy users worldwide. Now, without a further ado, let's begin. With us today is a leader with over 22 years of experience in learning and development, talent management, succession management, leadership capability building, and sales. He's a strong proponent of building people to build business and walks the talks by being a passionate people and L&D leader for over 25,000 people at his current organization. He's known to put his entrepreneurial ability in action to institutionalize many L&D and HRD related processes and bring along an attitude of openness to new ideas and technology. He's a charismatic and a charming Anil Nair, COE and lead for organizational learning and leadership development at Zydus Group. Thank you and welcome to this amazing session, Anil.
Hi everyone, thank you Shruti. Thank you all for joining today, and thank you People Matters and Upside LMS to have hosted this and giving an opportunity to interact with many industry colleagues and experts. I'm sure that most of you present here today, this isn't the first webinar of the season, that you all industry experts have been attending. You would have perhaps taken an opportunity to participate in a few of the discussions by now through some of the industry experts, and probably also realized that a common topic that has been covered in most of these interactions are around the present pandemic, its impact on multiple facets of the industry, and some tips, viewpoints, and suggestions to manage the change and also handle the new normal. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we shall take that learning of yours into cognizance and attempt to make sure that we will cover something which is an add-on and different. Hope this time is going to be spent worthwhile for all of you. Welcome all of you once again.
Great. Also joining us today is a learning and technology enthusiast, an Apple fanboy, a human at heart, and a leader who has made trailblazing his middle name. An IIM and NIT alumni, he's the key idea generator for Upside LMS product team, a sales and marketing orchestrator, a learning technology solution consultant for clients and prospect, a sounding board of ideas for his team and experts, a mentor for all the function heads. Amit Gautam, CEO of Upside LMS. Warm welcome, Amit. It's a pleasure to have you on board.
Thank you, Shruti. Thank you, People Matters. And good afternoon, everyone. It's pleasure to be here. Anil, thank you so much. And it's an honor to share a stage with you today. Again, second time for me. So thank you for that.
Great.
And I hope this session is great for all of us. And we are able to learn a lot of things. And I'm as keen a learner as everyone else today. And we'll try to learn from each other today.
Great. Anil, I want to kickstart the webcast by asking you a question that everyone has on their minds right now, but may not have the correct answer to. What is digital transformation in context of the new order?
Okay, let me answer it this way. So, what we have been experiencing is something that we were certainly hopeful that we will experience one day. The only surprise is, this came much early. The new order in discussion around the world, thankfully, is not something that we can't cope up with. But it is definitely going to test our preparedness and also push us to the extreme of a capability to adapt. And surely there is no rescue. Transformation, as I have heard, is an endpoint after multiple transitions. and transitions necessitate incremental adaptability to changes. However, the transformation that we are experiencing hasn't passed through any phase of transition. It's a sudden new order, and many who are unprepared for this business shift are likely to struggle and cope up with the reality. Now, the question, Shruti, which you asked is about digital transformation and not digital transition. So it's not only about simply starting to make use of digital medium to communicate or start extensive use of platforms like the one we are making use of right now. And neither it is only about making digital transactions and continue to do so mandatorily. So what I'm envisaging is the erstwhile choices have now become necessities. They all will become a way of life. So very soon the businesses, irrespective who started digital practices or those who didn't, there isn't going to be a choice left. Transformation is a stage that what we haven't really even thought of. Ever imagine that the work from home, it is no longer be a compulsion, which is currently going on like during crisis, but it will perhaps end up being a choice for many organizations going forward. The business models that employed large workforce will probably consider a transformational shift in the way that they are doing the business now. The consumers will start making rational choices and hence may need limited resources to live. The education sector will perhaps end up having more students at home than at schools. And we must all be prepared for this, Shruti. And what do you think will lead this transformation? Obviously, the digital transformation. That's what is my say.
Great. Amit, what are your views on digital transformation in the context of New Order? Would you want to add something here?
Absolutely, and I think I agree with Anil, and he has put the context in the right form. And yes, I think one thing I definitely want to reiterate is, and we all know, is that what is happening today is not going to go away after a few weeks or months, and it is definitely a new way of life, not just for an individual but for a business. And I think just to put things to the context, from a digital transformation perspective, what I believe is going to happen is I have been a part of the IT industry for a long time. And I think what I have observed is all the digital activities we do, they somehow end up in a physical kind of context with some physical boundaries. Let's say a bank, for an example. So even as a business, when we have to make wire payments, we have to still submit a lot of documents to the bank. There's a lot of physical activity involved. Even for L&D, while there are tools available to manage your training end to end, but there is still a component of training which happens in a classroom with a human interaction, which means a physical context. I think this phygital way of doing things might fade out and give a way to a pure digital environment. So which actually would entail that a business has to look at every aspect of its functioning and then transform that digitally for the sake of customer experience, employee experience, even the brand experience. We have been doing a lot of partnerships with a lot of marketing companies, and now all the events we were doing have now become virtual. So it's a challenge for everything. So we have to now encounter that challenge. And I think the true challenge will be access to information. Can that all be digitally available in a way it enables people to work better and faster? So, for example, in a study done by Harvard Business Review in 2018, published into the HBR, about $900 billion out of $1.3 trillion spent on digital transformation was wasted because it didn't meet the goals. I think this is a big change which is going to happen because the goals will be more stringent now, and there is no fallback or there is no backup which can be taken to a physical environment. So if the digital does not work, the business will not work. So I think the diligence and the focus and the scrutiny of any activity in this world will become stronger, which means we will have less waste of the activities and how it will be performed. Now, there are three components which I look at in terms of as backbone of digital transformation. It is the communication aspect of not just internal but external. It is the collaboration again among the employees and with the customers, and the cloud, which is what is going to be the biggest enabler of information access. So I think that's kind of, from my observations of what is happening and what the new order looks like for us.
Great. Anil, just as Amit said that, the phygital component is a vital component, can you shed some light on the challenges on the L&D and development front brought to you about this sudden transformation?
Well, Shruti, the moment you hear about a word challenge, or rather, I hear about a word challenge, there are two things which come to my mind. Uh, Challenges can either be an opportunity or a threat. And it all depends on the capabilities either an individual or the organization possesses at the time when the challenge strikes. Now, the current situation is definitely going to be a huge opportunity for many organizations who had already transitioned, and hence the transformation is going to be relatively easier. Now, mark the word relatively easier. Now, I represent an organization, Zydus, the pharma enterprise, and in recent times, we have been very much in use for the hydroxychloroquine drug production and the vaccine development. Zydus has always believed in investment in research and vaccines and has always parted with a considerable revenue to research. Now, today, in times of this untested challenge, it is more of an opportunity for Zydus, for the organization, to gear up vaccine development so that it can serve the humankind at the soonest. So it depends whether what you or an organization goes through is really a threat or an opportunity in the form of a challenge. Nevertheless, the challenge is still going to remain. Now, since we are talking about digital transformation, the initial challenge is going to be an understanding of the digital medium itself. Now, let me narrate a very funny but also very sorry incident, I must say, what I witnessed just recently, a few days back. So we all know that the schools have, immediately transformed to digital platforms to impart classes, and students are logged in from their homes to attend the classes. Well, last week, one of those days, I think so last Thursday or something, my 12-year-old son was attending an English class. And I assume there were around 30 classmates of his logged in into the, I think so Zoom portal to attend the session by the English teacher. Now, I happened to sneak into the room, and what I saw was few students explaining the teacher on how to share the screen and how to switch on the video. Now, all of a sudden, the teachers who were not even aware of such platforms being available were forced to get themselves quarantined at homes to download and self-learn the way to use it without any formal training. So the fundamental challenge which we would need immediate addressal is awareness and education of both digitization and, I will say, digitalization in a huge way. The applications. The organizations are going to look at alternative business models that would demand employees which are skilled with all kinds of digital practices. The employees, I must say, will have to raise their level of curiosity to understand the newer business practices. And, that's what the challenge is going to be figured out. Just a moment. I just got some technical glitch.
It's okay.
Sorry, that was just a moment. So where was I? Was talking about, I think so, the alternative, the business models that would demand employees which are skilled with all kind of digital practices. Well, I will say the employees will have to raise their levels of curiosity, and getting to be a top performer and a critical talent for the enterprise will depend a lot on employee agility itself. And agility in terms of adapting to technology and digitization. Employees who may bring in distinct innovative ideas for organization and digitalization will really win brownies and will get opportunities to excel. Now, this is likely to push the employees to invest immensely into their self-development, and digital practices are going to play a part there too. So I will say that in a nutshell, the challenges for employees are going to be in the area of number one, awareness, number two, self-development, and number three, the agility mindset.
Great. Anil, loved your example of your son's school's experience. I think that was apt when you spoke about agility. Amit, are the challenges presented by digital transformation on a business level similar to those of what Anil mentioned?
Absolutely, and I think taking from what Anil mentioned, I think for a business, a drastic change like this, which is not, of course, not temporary, leaves you no room to plan for how to adapt to that environment. And this is where I think Anil's points on self-development and agility, because everyone in the company and the business, they have to be very, very agile to adapt to this. And it is not going to be a person or one function-driven activity that we will train everybody and we will mention that. But I think the challenge is mostly because it, like in this case, we had only a few hours to prepare and everybody was sent home, and we had to work from the next day. And maintaining the customer experience, employee experience, maintaining the business, it is a big challenge. But I think most of that is still manageable if you're a technology company like we are, and most companies have technology to use. I think the biggest challenge we will face is how to maintain the company culture. We are used to seeing each other, meeting each other. We have a lot of physical activities around the way we, as humans, develop our bonds with other people. And in a remote working environment, and as Anil mentioned, this is not going to be going away, is going to become a way of life. I think for a business leader, L&D people, HR people, the maintenance of company culture, enhancing of company culture is going to be a big challenge. So that's kind of my take on how things are going to develop.
Great. Okay. Anil, how can L&D as a function help businesses and the workforce adopt to digital transformation?
Well, taking a cue from what I shared earlier, which is related to the employee challenges in terms of number one, awareness, number two, self development, and number three, agility mindset. L&D as a function will more have to be partnering than just complying. The job responsibilities and the deliverables of L&D will likely see a shift towards creating agile leaders in the organization. The new age learning practices are going to be different. We always learned of three major learning styles, and I'm sure the audience will relate to that. One is visual, second is auditory, and the third is kinesthetic. Well, while the styles might remain the same for learning, the delivery of learning may have to be more innovative. As digital learning has already become a new practice across many organizations in just past couple of months, now forcing many L&D practitioners to gear up to embrace this change. Very soon, the digital platforms and tools are going to become absolute generic. So actually, there will not be a scope to become complacent at all. Because the moment you start feeling that you as L&D have adapted to the new ways of learning delivery, soon you will realize that you are just one among the crowd. L&D will have to make a shift from being just learning and development to learning and futuristic development. Now, as a part, L&D will be demanded to not only build talent, but build a future enterprise. Personalized approaches and individual customizations will be the new need, which cannot be simply addressed by the conventional mechanisms of delivery. It would demand, say, innovative digital tools, which will have to be co-created with experts like you. It would require technology and will have to be created to meet the demands which are contextual to the organization. And hence the digital transformation will demand a huge amount of digitalization as well. That is application of all the digital data points and the practices to achieve the business outcomes. And I will say that out of my 22 years of experience now, L&D will have to prepare itself to that.
Okay, great. Amit, as Anil highlighted these major learning styles, what are your thoughts on how can businesses leverage technology to move the needle to a digital modus operandi for their employee skilling and learning?
So I think it's both kind of a challenging time and also an interesting time for all of us. Now, fortunately, in the last, let's say 10 years or so, the technologies for learning, they've evolved a lot. From a simple LMS many years back, we now have an interconnected network of tools available which can work with each other and provide a good experience to the employees in terms of learning function. So, with the classroom training going away without any notice, there is a huge need because businesses are not going to stop working. The companies have a need of people to be skilled all the time. In fact, it might become a higher need now with the remote working coming in, a new environment coming in. So with the learning function not going away, with a need increasing for employees to reskill, upskill themselves, I think companies have to look at the technology available for learning, which could include self-paced learning, virtual classroom training, and a lot of other ways, collaboration, social learning, communication with each other. So there are a lot of tools available. I think those would be really required. And with new environment, also the new skills will be required. That has to be also, as Anil said, L&D has to do a futuristic planning. They have to build a future enterprise. So what we are needing today will not be applicable tomorrow. So L&D function has to step in and start thinking from that perspective, that what is happening today is not going to be valid tomorrow. How do we build our enterprise today for that tomorrow's skilling needs? And yes, I think we have a cloud LMS, and it works with a lot of tools. So that kind of a setup of tools along with an LMS can really provide the any business a good platform to manage their learning across the company. And of course, there are a lot of content available in the market today, and very good one from many companies. And I think one of the things which L&D will have to look at is how to transform their current training, which may be in a form which is more physical, to online or more remote working compatible.
So, Anil, you spoke about digital transformation at a great length. I just have another thing here. How does change management play into business digital transformation strategy? Can you shed some light here as well?
Uh, Very interesting question. Well, I would say that rather than managing change, the expertise will now have to be in predicting change and and preparing oneself or the organization. The pandemic, though, is utter unfortunate to have happened, but let's not neglect the immense learning it is leaving behind. The biggest beneficiary is the mindset. Nothing can be predicted. The most prepared individual can also be the most unprepared individual today. Because all throughout, the irony is, unfortunately, our predictability was also very predictable, very ironic. And suddenly, one fine day, we experience which was never predicted at all. The change will have to be in the mindsets, Shruti. Crazy and unrealistic are not necessarily the words to be abandoned now. The new order has taught us that. Going forward, organizations will have to give in to the craziest of ideas, find out ways to execute the unrealistic kind of ideas and consider them as, realistic, never to abandon anything which comes from the employee way. We'll have to give liberty to the employees to participate in the futuristic thought forums as well. And such forums will have to be created through digital platforms. But then it is not going to be a natural flair amongst employees to contribute in this unexpected manner. The mindset change will have to be driven through continuous learning interventions. The learning interventions should embed development in the areas of, I must say, creative thinking, innovation, idea generation, and so on. That's my say.
Okay. Amit, your views, how does change management play into a business digital transformation strategy?
So every change is all about the people and how they adopt that change, how they work through the change. So I think the first parameter is how, as a company, as a group of people, what is your resistance to any kind of change, like in a usual basis. I think so. We have as a business, we have to build low resistance to any change moving forward, and where this is where HR and L&D play a huge role, where a learning culture inevitably also entails a culture of openness. And as Anil said, a mindset is what has to change. So if we are open to things, open to changes also is going to be very easily possible. And the second thing will be, as I said earlier, there's no really room to prepare, there's no time to prepare. So we all have to look at decisions which are very quick and swift, and they flow from top to bottom very fast. There is no room for red tape, or there is no bureaucracy required. So we have to cut down on steps on how we make decisions and how that flows through the system. And of course, I think the biggest one is, if people have trust in each other, they will also be able to work with each other better. And that also means that any new change they can face together, they can adopt together, and it'll be easier to implement any new change, be it a big one or a small one.
All right. So the next question is for you, Anil, and I'm really excited about this question. Because we go to great extent when we talk about digital transformation. We use a lot of digital and technology related jargons. But coming to the human aspect, how important are people to achieving digital transformation?
Uh, well, in my opinion, Shruti, employee skilling will have a new definition in times to come. The onus of employee skilling is likely to be more with the employee itself rather than L&D pushing them to. The traditional and conventional ways to perhaps compel the employees to skill in a limited area that L&D wants will probably find a shift. Now think about two kinds of restaurants. I'll give you an analogy here. The first one, where you go to a restaurant and order from a menu, which is what usually happens with us. And the second one tomorrow, where you go to, but there is no menu. You feel like eating something of your own unlimited choice in your mind, order the same and get it. Where given a choice, will you like to go to? Right? So likewise, employee skilling will have to be decided by the employee because the employees will be left with no choice but to continuously build their capabilities for survival. Now, hence, they will start getting more keen to consciously upskill themselves and demand, say, perhaps specific learning contents that may change or that may want to develop on to perform their job better. So, being prepared for that would be a game changer for organizations and L&D functions.
Okay. Amit, what's the importance of people development in terms of skilling and training programs for the digital world?
I think that's the key to how the businesses will function and succeed. And if when people are working remotely, let's say in the new order of the business, it has we and in the last I think 6 weeks or 5 weeks we have seen, and I have seen personally, that a lot has to be left to the people on their own to decide what to do and how to do that, which means they have to be empowered, they have to be skilled enough to understand how to make the decision, and it's not going to be easy. So I think what Anil says, I totally agree with that. It employee driven is going to be the keyword here, and employees have to be able to learn how to make decisions on their own without a meeting or a conference, because as I said, there is no really time to decide. So I think it will be the key point here. And as a business, we have to change our entire learning function or a process to a fully online training process. It does not mean e-learning per se. It means self-paced, virtual, collaboration, social, informal, all forms of learning which do not necessarily require a person to be present in front of another person physically. So any mode of learning which is enabled over there, that is going to be possible. And yes, going back to the futuristic point of view, we have to now design learning interventions from a future perspective. We have to also assume that things can go in a different direction. Now we have seen a world which we never thought we will. We have to then start factoring that uncertainty into our learning interventions also.
Okay. Anil, you spoke about a lot of aspects related to digital transformation and learning. Is there any other critical piece related to digital transformation and learning that one should keep in mind?
Oh yes, one very important piece, which we should not forget. I would not say critical piece, but the most critical piece, and that is the culture, the organization culture. Well, let me answer you this way. I'm a firm believer of the fact that culture is not what employees create, but culture is what employees carry forward. And what they receive is what they carry forward. The biggest shift ever for an organization is a culture shift. Culture is always like, in any organization like a rock of Gibraltar, very, very unshaky. But many unshaken things of nature have been shaken in the most unlikely ways, and a virus leading to a disruption is an example, ironically. What will be important for organization is to learn from this episode and start adapting to unconventional methods of organization and people building. Now, it might have to start practicing perhaps what it was always averse to. Might have to start changing its vulnerable ecosystem to what I say, to a dynamic, ever evolving ecosystem. Now, one thing is very obvious from the current scenario, that if you want to create leaders of the future, you can't just be there sitting inspired from the leaders of the past. What the leaders of the future might experience may not necessarily would have been experienced by the leaders of the past. Culture shift starts from the mindset. Sooner the mindset shift, better it is. So that's the third critical piece.
Amit, how can learning bring about a culture shift that is conducive to digital transformation?
So I think the key to culture, and yes, things have to change. We have to also look at new ways. So learning is definitely going to be the key, because one is, if you look at, it's not just about training on the skills required to perform a job. It's also going to be learning how to work with each other in a new environment, like remote working, or working with maybe even the gig economy, where we are working with people who are new to business and they're temporary, and we don't even meet them for their lifetime. So I think the learning process has to be strengthened. It has to evolve to adapt to these requirements. So it will be the key, because if the company is able to have the employees learn with these new perspectives and they are able to learn on their own, the culture will also become that of an open one, which also will lead for people to work with each other better. So if today, let's say we're a small company, about 70 odd people, but today I feel very confident that everybody is working. In fact, they may be working at a higher productivity than they were working earlier, because not because they have more time or less work to do, but I think the sense of the environment, and they still feel connected to each other, that still drives them to a common goal. So I think that is where I think the learning piece has to be brought in. And again, I will repeat, but it has to be a future driven learning design. It cannot be any longer same learning designs we have been used to. It has to change, and that's where we are looking to.
So next question I have for you, Anil, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers would want to know about this. Is there a way for businesses to future-proof themselves from such a unprecedented, times?
uh, had there been some magic weapon to do that, that would have been great. Uh, but then, the one thing what I can share is also very pretty obvious and well known. Uh, and that's one of the topic also for today's webinar, which is digital transformation. So digital transformation is not a choice anymore. It has become a compulsion, a dire necessity for survival, both for organizations and also for individuals. So the L&D strategy hence cannot just be around people development or skill development or leadership development alone. It has to be around futuristic organizational development, breaking away from the past, and that too in a continuous manner. The L&D strategy cannot be a simpleton set of activities to be carried out throughout the year or a long list of learning modules which are uploaded through digital platforms. It has to be beyond that. Now, L&D will have to drive the digital transformation. Rather, I would say a continuous digital transformation as a way of life in the organization. Unless the organizations are likely to have talents which excel in practicing digitalization, it might be left behind. So L&D strategy should be towards creating and say developing such talents. So digital mediums will certainly be the most effective way forward. This I think so that should not be missed out.
Okay, great, and rightly said. Amit, do you have any pro tips for planning a go-forward strategy that safeguards the company's and the employees' interest?
There are two ways to go about this. One is, I think most of our life we have looked at digital being the fastest way to save cost, and of course it has been all about efficiency and saving time or cost or the resources. I think from that perspective, we have to now move to employee and customer centric transformation of digital nature. It has no longer it can no longer be just a cost saving initiative. It has to be something which is embedded in the workflow of a company. How from a customer point of contact to the last point in the company, how the information and the data flows, how these things interact with each other. So the from a mere cost saving transformation, it has to become a effective transformation based on customer and employee experience. Now, within this workflow, the new challenges will be for information security. With everyone working remotely, data is going to be available everywhere, and that is where I think cloud will become a key in managing all of these aspects, because we will have to move everything to the cloud, even our local environment, which we are used to. has to move to the cloud to a large extent. And of course, the last one, and Anil has mentioned that a few times, is we have to prepare the workforce for this new environment. They have to understand and kind of almost imbibe that this is not going to go away in a weeks or month or ever. This is a new way of life. So they have to start, because once they understand this, they will also be able to give back a lot of inputs on how to make this thing effective. So that's kind of my take on this one.
Okay. Anil, before we let you go, any last word of advice for our viewers?
Ladies and gentlemen, I would just end by emphasizing that the emerging new order, creating a new normal, does not need any further introduction to any of us. But however, the best learning is to predict the unpredictable and be prepared for it. It might be ironical when I say that, but that's the way it is. Predict the unpredictable and be prepared for it. Now, as HR and L&D practitioners, it is important for us to take charge and encourage the new normal to settle in. It will be a huge responsibility for each one of us to continuously reinforce the learning of the survival of the fittest, smartest, and also digitally transformed organizations. I also sense that this is also a huge opportunity to transform, our thought processes, our organization's thought processes, and also the learning practices. That's my submission. Thanks.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Anil. Amit, if you have to summarize and share actionable takeaways for our audience, what would they be?
So again, I know taking off from where Anil mentioned, so I think the paradigm has definitely shifted irreversibly. So that is one thing we have to all understand and kind of make a underlying factor of our life and work environment now moving forward. And I definitely would like to reiterate that we have to, in fact, increase our focus on the company culture, because it as Anil said, it is the rock of Gibraltar, but it doesn't take much time to shake it from its core if we don't focus on that on a continuous basis. So I think in this remote working environment, keeping people connected to each other and keeping the culture fabric together intact in one piece as you want it, that will be a key focus. And my observation is that at this time, instead of reducing or slowing down your learning activities, the companies have to invest more in making sure that we are able to provide all the opportunities and the tools to the employees to learn and reskill in the new environment. And there are a lot of tools available, there are a lot of technologies available. It is not going to be very difficult to just leverage those to make sure that we are able to enable our employees to work better.
Okay, great. Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Anil. Those were a lot of invaluable insights and so much learning. I would like to move to our audience question. Before I move to my audience questions, I would like to tell our audience that you can post your questions in the comment section on the right-hand side of your screen. We'll take it up. We can already see a lot of questions coming in, so I will take the first question. This question is by Sanjay. Sanjay has commented that in these times when funding is an issue, digitization can be a challenge. This question is for both of you, Amit and Anil. In case you have any comments here, like, do you have any, how can you, how can we make funding, which is an issue in digitization, how is that a challenge? But do you want to take that question, or Anil, would you want to go?
Fine. Since I also represent an organization, and I'm not a consultant, so, I can always try and suggest certain things. See, an organization would never mind funding what it feels valued for. It's a clear exchange of business, right? I mean, for any entrepreneur, what matters is what is it that I get in return to what I invested. So, are we as L&D practitioners being able to bring the conviction in the management about the investment or the kind of cost part of it? Because different organizations will have a different viewpoints in this. It's not that though I have been a speaker today, but then in my organization also in some of those aspects I've had a challenge of funding. But then there have been out of possibly 10, perhaps there have been 2 or 3 which I have found a way through basically because I was able to convince them about the kind of value that it would add. And this value have to be really in terms of business outcomes. Most often the values that we derive are about so many people will get covered, people will get more developed, and developed people will be able to deliver more. Sorry, I mean pure business outcomes. And business outcomes for organizations are usually in three aspects. One is productivity, second is growth, and third is the performance. So if you're able to address these three variables by any of your learning interventions, tangible parameters, probably not many organizations will mind or would at least start funding their own people in some of the ways because they will find a real value attached to it. Performance, productivity, growth, period.
Okay. Sanjay also has a question about cracking functional training of blue collar workers specifically. Anil, would you want to add something here?
Yeah, I would say, see, it's a very interesting question as well because when we say blue collars, we have a huge number of blue collars in my own organizations, Pharma Enterprise. Now, thankfully, what has happened is we need not consider this blue collars as ignorant pieces today, right? Now, what has WhatsApp done? What has Facebook done? What has TikTok done to the world? They have, made these guys mobile literate. Actually, they know how to make use of those digital pieces. This is the best reason that why digital transformation is required and can help the blue collar workforce. Everybody has a cell phone. Everybody has a kind of a WhatsApp app. So probably the learning interventions can also be kind of a business simulation which can be extended by these kind of platforms. That's how the creativity will have to be coming in. That there is no specific finite answer which is being which can pacify anybody for the need of the hour. There only have to be some innovative ways or creative ways to think about. I would say, thankfully, the blue collar peoples are much more digitally literate now. And for us, digital literate is not in terms of coding and other practices, or more so in terms of how to make use of these platforms. And probably they can learn easily. So I would say the answer lies in offering it through digital course only.
Okay, great. We have another interesting question here by Tabitha. She has an industry-specific question, one on the most hardest hit industries. How about hospitality sector to adapt with this digital transformation? Amit, do you want to take this question?
Sure. So I think, as a business, let's say as of now, the sector is really badly hit, but at some time it will revive, it will come back. So there are two ways to go about any transformation. It could be inside out or outside inwards. So you could either start from your employees and just slowly move out to your customers and map the entire process. It could be flow of information, it could be flow of experience, and you decide your core pieces and move those pieces into digital transformation aspect. Or you could move inwards from out. You say, okay, let me first transform the way I work with my customers, and then I move inwards. It all depends on, so I think for some industries, the inside out approach may be better, where the employees are a big piece of the puzzle and they are working remotely. So the first step is to, of course, make them work in a better environment. So you will have to move inwards out, where you first let the employees work together. And as they work, they will also be able to impact the other workflows, which in the end lead to how a customer is experiencing the services and solutions we are offering. For some industries, it may be outside inwards, where the first priority will be to make sure the customer experience is intact, and then transform that first, and then whatever is that leading up to, we transform that in a subsequent manner.
Okay. Anil, do you want to add something here?
No, nothing significantly. I think so.
Okay.
I would have also answered what Amit did.
Okay, great. Okay, so moving on to the next question. This question is by Manan Parekh. He asked, as online learning becomes the new normal, does this mean the online distant courses will have a better place in the world than today? Today, companies and the world discriminates between the full-timer and onliner. So what are your views on it? Anil, do you want to take that question?
Well, I did not understand the question completely as its context, but probably the first part is a little relevant. What it says is, does it mean online distance courses will have better place in the world than today? Of course, it will have. When you're trying to practice some kind of social distancing, which will become the need of the hour because this pandemic is going to stay for a while, and eventually what has been practiced for a few months will become a new normal altogether. I would not say necessarily distance courses, but distance courses, the way that it would be built in. If you recollect, in one of my statements when I was addressing, I did make a mention about the 3 learning styles, and there will be some 3 delivery styles which will become very prominent. So it will all be revolving around how is it that you're trying to deliver. Is it some kind of an online module or a course or a SCORM course, or you're developing a MOOC, or it's a kind of a video animation content, or preferably you're trying to derive some kind of a business simulations now which have been quite very used to. So each one of them, you may never know what is it that will impact the audience in your organization. But obviously, the distance courses are here to stay, and preferably that is what will see the future as well and will continue to remain. So we must start thinking on the new age delivery methods to allow people to be more attracted towards these courses, what the L&D has to offer.
Okay. So the next question, what are some of the top So what are the top skills talent leaders should focus on to become transformation ready?
Well, I would say, 3 things for me, because as a talent leader, I would emphasize on 3 things because I also fall into the same league as all of us are. And today I would have to focus on 3 skills for myself. That's what I would like to answer this question. First and foremost is openness. I might have to let go a lot of my past learnings. Leadership has not been taught to me, and I have read about it, but probably not many of those things what I've learned is in the real sense today can be really applied. When I say not really applied, that means it really takes a muster of things to apply some of those things into practice. But openness to learn about newer things is very, very important, number 1. Number 2 is absolute curiosity. I don't think so conventional wisdom is always going to matter. In one of the statements, I said that the leaders of the future are not necessarily going to be practicing with the leaders of the past did. So quoting those examples are going to be irrelevant. Curiosity, adapting to newer ideas, trying and testing new things, innovatively trying to find out, having the courage to experiment is the second most important thing. Openness, curiosity, and third, the important thing is it should not rest in your brain, but it should be put with your hands. That's the action. So I'm talking about the agility. The faster you are in the race, the further you are than that of the others. The competition is going to be very stiff now. It's going to be in more of those digital spaces. So your openness, your curiosity, and your agility are the only 3 things that talent leaders will be differentiated going forward with.
Great. I really like what you said. The faster you are, the further you are. I think I would want to quote it. Okay, moving on to the next question. A lot of studies have shown that learning by doing is the best and the most effective way. How do you think, is this the new remote working environment? This can be practiced in the new remote environment? Amit, do you want to take this question? I think I can't see Amit. So Anil, would you want to answer that question?
So in my society, there is an uncle and auntie, who run yoga classes and who ran yoga classes from their house. And nowadays they're running the yoga classes on Zoom. Believe me, the number of audiences have not decreased but further increased. Now, yoga is not something which you can practice by reading, right? It's like swimming cannot be learned from corresponding course. Likewise, they have been quite successful. And what they told me when I met them last week is, that going forward, we are trying to transform all yoga classes through Zoom classes only. We are getting more audiences, it's their own convenience, and we're able to make them practice too. So now, when I'm talking about, yes, experiential learning is something which doesn't have, any kind of substitute. Absolutely right. So that is where the digital practice will also have to be embedded with newer ways of delivery. And again I'm talking this point. Most of us probably are known to upload some courses, some kind of modules, some kind of videos, some kind of animation learning, some kind of SCORM courses, everything. But these are all now becoming a need of the hour, and they will all be very generic. If you need to really embed the experiential learning, digital practices will have to make them possible, and there are business simulations. I recall, 3-4 years back, when we were trying to work out some kind of a model to run HPLC machines for the new joiners in my organization. Now, HPLC machines are very costly. So in pharmaceutical industry, when you do quality testing, you have this high purified liquid chromatography machine. They're very, very costly. You can't have a new joiner hands-on having a machine, because there is a likelihood to be a breakage and that might disturb the current environment. So how do you make them practice without them getting closer to the machine? So the best way that we did was we created some online simulation. So it's like kind of a 3D video of an HP machine. Then, it's like, when you operate on the screen, it's as good as if you're operating the machine. You can take them through each and every step one by one. In case if there is a mistake, they're asked to go back and still. So, and what we saw was in just a very short span of time, these all new joiners were able to make use of the HPLC machine in the best possible way, as if they have got an opportunity to operate it themselves in the shop floor. Nothing is impossible. I mean, it only needs, creative bent of mind, some more innovation, and possibly, I would say, this innovation is not something which has to be rested only with outside consultants who offer us these services. It has to be the brainchild of internal organizations, and there has to be a co-creation and partnering. Then only these innovations and creativity can be built in. So I would answer my question that way.
That was beautifully said. Anil, I think that was really apt. And Amit, do you want to add something to that?
So I'm sorry, I actually lost half of.
Yeah. So I will. Okay.
I'll take the
do you want me to repeat the question?
Sure.
The question was, a lot of studies have shown that learning by doing is the best and the most effective way. How do you think in this new remote working environment this can be practiced?
All right. I think, yes, Anil, what Anil said is definitely very apt. And the learning intervention has to be designed by the importance or how important is that new skill in the new environment. If, we have anyways moved a lot of our activities to a digital environment, some of the skills may not really be required. But what is remaining may still need to be designed. So as Anil said, I think creative bent of mind, simulations, people have been training to be a pilot using simulators for a long time, and that works very well. And I think it's one of the safest way of traveling so far. So we have to find the right tool. So, it may be virtual reality, it may be augmented reality, it may be mixed reality, it may be simulations, it may be an e-learning course, but we have to think deeper and figure out the best way, engage with the audience or the learners in that context. So I think every problem will have a solution. We have to just make sure that we are really looking for one. If we are not looking for one, we only will find half solutions.
Great. I can see a lot of questions coming in, a lot of engagement in the comment section. I will move on to the next question. It's from Vinod Krishnan. He asks how we can implement in gamification effectively in e-learning. To what extent will it help us to increase employee engagement? Anil, do you want to pick this question?
Well, it's a little technical in place. So if Amit would like to answer, and possibly I will add if he has something to.
Yes.
Sure. I think from a technical perspective, most cloud LMSs will today have a very well thought out module where it allows the company to kind of incentivize for every activity you do in the system. So it could be for learning, it could be for system usage, it could be for collaboration, communication. For example, I know one of our customers, they kind of have points which are given to an employee if they start a thread in a community and people discuss on that thread, they also get some points. I think in the end, the gamification has to lead to some incentives, to some rewards, to some benefits. Could be tangible, could be non-tangible. And so the tools will have all the mechanisms to be able to create your own kind of rule engine on how to gamify the environment. But the actual motivation for the employees would be how do those gamification achievements translate to some either materialistic or non-materialistic benefits?
Well, I would add on only to say that, if gamification is only looked down upon as a one-time tool, as a part of some kind of a process where people log in, I think so soon they will not be interested into it. Possibly 1 or 2 months down the line, and that gamification will have no meaning with it. Can you embed the gamification as a part of the system. I know, as you rightly said, or as Amit pointed out, possibly in some of the organizations, in case if they start a thread and in case if anybody is adding on to it, then he earns some rewards. Gamification has to be creatively thought about of embedding it as a part of the system, as a part of some kind of a practice that the organization has as a part of an habit. Then only the gamification is likely to sustain. If it's just simply log on to one small game of a cricket and they say hey it's kind of a product knowledge enhancer, you will simply lose a lot of money. I don't think so. You will earn anything in return. Employees will also, I think so, will not get interested very soon. So probably think of some creative thing. What can really matter the employee? Think about the generation which works with you. What is it that they would like to get it gamified for as a part of the system and the practice in the organization?
Okay. Great. So there's another interesting question here in the audience section by Suhani Sood. She asked how to ensure the efficiency of organizational culture in a virtual environment. Anil, do you want to take this question?
Well, Suhani, I'm sure you heard what I said when it was about the organization's culture. Culture is not something what employees create. Culture is something what the employees carry forward. And when I say when they carry forward, definitely what they get is what they carry forward. And hence, the top management will have a great role to play. It is not simple employees that will be able to build organizational culture by whatever they create. L&D as a sole function might need not necessarily make the transformation. There has to be a tall order supporting it, and hence it has to be the mindset of the organization which will create a culture. And so, in case simply to say that if there has been a top order call, there has been a frequency of communication from the top order, putting the importance of the digital transformation for the employee workforce, I think so there is going to be a cultural shift which will come going forward. Because what you see practicing, getting practice is something that you would also like to practice and carry it forward. But L&D, what it can do is it can facilitate, it can enable that thing to happen. It can talk closely, exchange conversations, and convince that this has to be done. So, like for example, in case if you're starting a new initiative or a process, there are many things that you might want to communicate directly as a L&D team, but there are not many takers. But suddenly, somebody who's say CEO or a managing director sends a mail and there are many takers. That means what? That means, still in our country, we still belong to a kind of a community who listens to the people who are far superior, senior, and it becomes important. Only that we need to do as L&D to facilitate is to make use of this thing in the right order and help and facilitate to change the culture. And that's where the organizational culture will have an impact, even in the virtual environment.
Amit, do you want to add something here?
I think it's just, whatever culture the company has right now, let's say before embarking on this virtual environment, digital transformation, a lot of that culture will carry forward, carry through. And you have to just build on that. And I think what I have, realized is the key is to make sure that the assumptions are very, very less. So, any the team, HR team, the L&D team, or the top management team, they cannot simply assume that it is just a different way of working and it is not really a huge change. So I think the assumption has to be very, very less in terms of we have to assume that every employee is going through a change. And so we have to connect to everyone in whatever way it is possible. It could be a broadcast from the top management. It could be a one-to-one connect. But we have to remove the assumption that it should be easy for everyone to just work remotely. It is not really a very big change and big deal. But if I think if we remove the assumption, then yes, it's easy to ensure that we are able to carry forward the culture of the company and maybe make it better in the new environment.
Okay, great. I can see there are a lot of questions coming in, but I'll take this last question by Vinita Arora. Will there be a change in top talent identification skills going forward? And what will be the best approach to develop them in future? Anil, do you want to take this question?
Well, Vinita, I would say not much because many of those skills are something that we already have started evaluating, and many organizations have progressed while evaluating the employees. But then, yes, top talent. There are a couple of things which will really matter. Agility, for that matter, has been talked for quite some time, and I think so. This is the time when the real shape of agility is going to decide the shape of the organization as well. Because today, irrespective of an organization, big or small, except for the difference in the cash flows, all organizations are at the same level, right? And you would say that no, every organization is starting from a base zero. Nobody has a precedence, and everybody has started moving into a new order, all of them together. Who will move fast will move further. So that means agility is going to stay, and if you need to assess your people, assess on those front. Number two is typically, connectedness with the people, because the more and more you're going to be far off through digital medium, you're going to be encouraging more of social distancing. These are the practices are going to change. You're going to be changing the business model. In case a few of the organizations believe, no, we can do away with work from office, we can continue with work from home for half a time of the month. The kind of connectedness that you need to build in with the people will always be very high. The need, because you might not be seeing them often, meeting them often. So what would really matter is how do you build up the connectivity? And I will use the word connectedness. So these two aspects, one is connectedness with the people, and number two, agility in the form of business. So if an individual in the top talent are able to have a high amount of connectedness with his people, second thing is able to showcase a high amount of agility in the way that he drives business, perhaps are the two important things which should not be missed out coming forward.
Okay. Amit, do you want to add something here?
I think just to add to what Anil said, and I think that's kind of a good summary, is it's always been the same talent which is solving problems. So for example, if this was to happen all over again, I would need somebody I can just say, from tomorrow everybody's going to work from home, and that person has to say, okay, fine, we'll do it. So there has to be no chance of being able to blame the environment or the ecosystem. It has to be a mentality and the mindset to find a solution to whatever happens. So I think that remains, and I think is still a top talent we all look for, and that will still remain the top talent, is because problems will keep changing, but we need people who can solve them whenever they come.
Okay.
Well,
Great.
I am just
Yes.
tempted. I am just tempted to pick up one question, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm reading it in my dialogue box, which was sent by Reshma. It says, Sonali Rao has
Yes.
a question. The question is, in the process of digitization of HR processes ranging from recruitment to L&D, how to maintain a human touch factor alive in the organization?
Yes.
Very correct. How to maintain the human touch. But let's understand, what do we do when we meet people? Do we really hug them and close them in recruitment? No, we don't. So what we do when we sit across each other? When we sit across each other, we look at each other, we try to create some impressions by the way the person is dressed, the way that he talks, the way his body language and all such stuff is. I do not know if you've seen this English web series in Amazon. It's an old web series, but The Mentalist, which is very famous, played by Simon Baker as Patrick Jane, and he's a mentalist. So what he does is he does more of an observation and tries to decipher some of the things about an individual much faster, right? When we are talking to each other, it's very important for me when I'm talking to you. You are trying to have some impression about me by the language which I'm choosing, by the way that I'm responding, but unfortunately, I'm not aware about what is it that you're thinking about me. I can't even see you. So that means some of the skills which will matter to continue the human touch are these skills among the people of HR. That how is it that you can make up even without looking at a person? How is it that you can gauge from the tone of an individual, from the language that he chooses, the vocab that he uses, the words which he minces? Similarly, when you recruit a guy, these are certain things that will matter. You may never know that if I was sitting at home, I would be having a suit at the top and I do not know what I'm wearing at the bottom. So typically, these things will really matter in coming good forward. So human touch is going to be replaced by a digital human touch, I would say, but the human touch is there to stay, because we deal with humans. We cannot just simply move on without the emotions being embedded in our conversations. So probably the human touch will only be preceded with one more word added, which is a digital human touch, but human touch is bound to stay.
Great, great. Lovely, Anil. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anil. Thank you so much, Amit. With this, I would want to wrap the question and answer round. And those were some great insights, especially with respect to the current uncertain business scenario. You know, once again, I want to thank our today's webcast partner, Upside LMS, and our speakers for the invaluable information that they have shared with us today. Meanwhile, I would also request the audience to give their feedback in the survey link provided in the chat section, because your input matters. We are running short on time, so that's why I want to conclude today's webcast. Thank you, stay safe, and have a great day.
Thank you.